Hello, I'm Lambros Fatsis and I'm a lecturer in Criminology at the University of Brighton, specialising in police racism and the criminalisation of black music subcultures. When I do not teach and write, I continue to exist as a never-recovering vinyl junkie and a purveyor of Afro-Caribbean music. It is in this dual capacity that I have lovingly assembled the content for this recording, which draws on roots reggae music as an undermined resource for thinking about police racism, state violence and social justice. We will hear a selection of tunes accompanied by explanatory commentaries which should establish a dialogue between the music and the current sociopolitical context by seeing the one in the light of the other. Divided into four main parts, this essay in sound will explore where we are, how we got here, what we want and how to get it, followed by a selection of instrumental tracks, dubs, whose sonic architecture neatly encapsulates the essence of my argument without requiring any further input from me. Finding ourselves in the midst of a global pandemic that has exposed how viruses don't pick the victims randomly, but from specific ethnic and class categories, we also woke up to the reality and seriousness of police racism and police violence in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor by US police. We could therefore hardly blame Freddie McGregor for wanting to put a stop to a world of inequality, segregation, violence and injustice, which raises the question of how we got here in the first place. Singer Don A.V. gives us some clues in his take on a classic Studio One rhythm or riddim, previously made famous by Jennifer Lara, Delroy Wilson and Ernest Rankin.
How you feel do that? Who that can't feel? Well, let them wear it. You came onto us with a big water plastic smile. Gain our love and gain our confidence. Gave you food and shelter and a pillow to lay your head. And with the fate of Job, mistook you for a friend. This politics is a drifting far, far away. Written on the wall that that you show no love. Now your ship into sinking, there's no flood. Deep in the sea of the innocent slaves' blood. Slavery. You promised that a living yet robbed our silver and gold. And like a lamb to the slaughter, oh shepherd boy, we sail with you where you promised that the pastures would be green. And oh what a torture and brutality. Come again, hell, politics are drifting far, far away. Written on the wall that you show no love. Now your ship it is sinking, there's no flood. Deep in the sea of the innocent slaves' blood. Oh well, Lord. Cultivate your lands and force to in your cities war. And where's the pay we've got except for lashes all over our backs? Sons and fathers you killed, you raped our mothers and sisters. And the story goes on and on and on and on. The politics are drifting far, far away. Written on the wall that you show no love. Now your ship it is sinking, there's no flood. Deep in the sea of the innocent slaves' blood.
To understand police racism, one has to understand both policing and racism. And to understand policing and racism is to understand the historical context within which they were both formed. Policing, as a modern institution, in the US and the UK, was not immaculately conceived in 19th century New York and London, but founded during colonialism and slavery. Both in the US and the UK, the models and styles of policing that emerged in the metropole derive from pre-professional, informal militias that were formed to patrol, capture and control fugitive slaves and colonial subjects in the American South and Britain's overseas possessions. If policing was the tool for subjugating the empire's captives, racism was the ideology that supplied plantation owners with a justification for capturing and dispensing with the life of people who were perceived, pursued, enslaved and punished as alien, inferior, incomprehensible and inadmissible to the human family. Cornell Campbell expands on this by describing how, in the days of slavery, black people were sold as commodities, shipped as human cargo, tricked out of the land, and subjected to the violence of colonial rule.
Of slavery, our people sold out to Babylon. They tried to trick us out of our land, but not the trades don't go back to Babylon. Not the don't go. Remember the pain and the suffering. Judge our children there in Babylon. They tried to change our power plans, so not the trades don't go back to Babylon. Not the don't go, it will be dread. It shall be dread.
Fast forward a few centuries, and we find ourselves closer to home in the capital of such colonial expeditions and the seat of imperial power, London. Yet, this is not London as a central node in the transatlantic slave trade of yesteryear, but a contemporary capital city of an empire that amassed its wealth and built its political and civic institutions, as well as its urban infrastructure, on the back of colonial statecraft. Despite the temporal distance between the institution of slavery and contemporary democratic freedom, the economy of sympathy for black lives did not stop gaining currency. Colonialism denied the slaves humanity, yet the modern state, free, liberal and democratic, did not cease to express its indifference for the loss of black lives. A case in point, the New Cross massacre. In the early hours of Sunday morning, on the 18th of January 1981, a fire engulfed a home at 439 New Cross Road, where a birthday party was held. 13 black British teenagers lost their lives in a blaze that allegedly resulted from a firebomb thrown into the house by racists. Despite the contested causes of the fire, the indifference of the state to this tragic incident is indisputable. It was only after sustained pressure from the New Cross Families Committee that the London Metropolitan Police was forced to investigate. It was also this incident that lit the tinder for a mass demonstration, the Black People's Day of Action, and the Brixton Uprising against police violence in 1981, reminding us that the history of clashes between Black Britons and the police has almost always originated from the over-policing and under-protection of Black Britons. Johnny Osborne, legendary singer and pioneer of the Sing-Jay style, which fuses rhythmic speech and singing, gives us his version of New Cross Fire in 13 Dead But Nothing Said. If the 4 tracks we've just heard describe where we find ourselves and how we got here, the remaining 6 selections will sketch out an outline of what we want and how to get it. What better place to start than Sugar Minot's Give the People, where, apart from obvious and pressing demands for justice, freedom and equal rights, we stumble upon a group of lines that are eerily relevant to the loss of black lives as a result of police chokeholds or police officers' knees at black people's throats. This is how Eric Gardner died in 2014 and how George Floyd died last May in the US, but also how Rashan Charles and Edson da Costa died in the UK in the summer of 2017. Sugar Minott speaks with much force to this theme, so let us listen.
People
Deep and heavy reggae roots business there from Sugar Minott, with Prince Jammy at the controls, mixing up a true musical storm to shake us from our bedazzled stupor. Enos MacLeod takes this further with a taut, oppositional and anti-authoritarian message that helps us think and act at the crossroads of words, language, sound, music, and power, political action, in a manner not dissimilar to W.E.B. Du Bois's invitation, in the souls of black folk, to lead a life characterized by vigor of thought and thoughtful deed.
Whoa, yeah. Whoa, whoa. Word sounds and powers gonna mash them down. Yes, word sounds and powers gonna trample them down. With word sounds and power, I and I shall go. Word sounds and power shall take us through. Yes, word sounds and power, we won't be blue. With word sounds and power, I and I shall go through. Yes, cause just like the days of King Pharaoh, Christ was for us, yes, this I know. Oh, with word sounds and power, yeah. Oh, yeah. With word sounds and power, we shall win a home. And word sounds and power, we will stand our ground. With word sounds and power, I and I shall go. Yeah. With word sounds and power, we shall go. With word sounds and power, we shall know no sorrow. Word sounds and power shall take us through. Yeah. Word sounds of power, we won't be blue. Nah. Like the days of old. Word sounds and power was all we know. Remember the Red Sea. Remember the Blue Sea. Moses and Aaron did take us through. All the use word sounds and power to get us through. Word sounds and power to take us through. Not brutality, they use humanity. Yes. With word sounds and power, we'll stand on our own. With word sounds and power, now we're fully grown. Yes, word sounds and power, we must use. Oh, word sounds and power shall break them down. With word sounds and power, we've got our hold. Yes, word sounds and power is all we have. Yeah. Our power, our word. Word sounds and power.
This is the stuff that utopias are made of, not as non-existent places, but as a distant possibility that calls on us to think and act otherwise, to create elsewheres. If Oscar Wilde was right to describe progress as the realization of utopias, and if politics is the art of the possible, as the cliché goes, then thinking and imagining what can be made possible is vital. As is the need to choose a path of action that changes the course of reality. What can we do to undo the world that creates harms like police violence and racism? Brent Doe, like Earl Zero who wrote this song, suggests that we devote ourselves to righteous works. And by this he does not mean moral self-aggrandizing, but ethical commitment to imagining the world we want to live in and steering our energies to make things happen so that we move closer to that world. We may never get to live there ourselves, but our younger kindred spirits might.
Fire go burn your soul in hell, just say that change is bound to come one day. Life won't be this way always. The good can't suffer for the bad all the time. There must be some righteous works along the line. So many poor people on the streets wake up in the mornings with nothing to eat. No food, no clothes, no place to sleep. To I man sight that no look right, tears fall from my eyes. There must be better situation. Every mouth must be fed. Each and every one must live. Every mouth must be fed. Each and every one must eat bread. Oh. A change must come one day. Life won't be this way always. The good can't suffer for the bad all the time. There must be some righteous works along the line. I said, move each and every one must live. Every mouth must be fed. Each and every one must eat bread. A change must come one day. Life won't be this way always. The good can't suffer for the bad all the time. There must be some righteous works along the line. Along the line. There must be some righteous works, yeah. Along the line. Fire go burn your soul in hell. A change is bound to come.
Change must come one day, I know. Life won't stay this way always. Thus spoke Brent Doe in the track we just heard. And to press the point further, our work as scholars is to use our work to make space for that change to happen. Yet, as 19th century African American abolitionist intellectual Frederick Douglass reminds us, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Working for, struggling for, and fighting for such change is the righteous work that our scholarship should prioritize. If this sounds like a trio of trite, dull, or overused concepts, let me add another one, that of revolution. But not a revolution of salutes, fists up in the air, or guns at high noon, as self-described black lesbian mother warrior poet Audre Lorde put it. Militancy, as the great poet herself wrote, means actively working for change, sometimes in the absence of any surety that change is coming. It means doing the unromantic and tedious work necessary to forge meaningful coalitions, and it means recognizing which coalitions are possible and which coalitions are not. It means fighting despair. And I think this is what Keith Hudson has in mind too. So let us hear him speak.
Struggle.
Black man,
Alright.
fight your revolution.
Alright.
Black man,
Alright.
fight your revolution. Black man,
Of what you scared of.
fight your revolution.
Of what you see.
Black man,
Alright. Fight your revolution. Black man, oh, fight your revolution.
black man,
Baby, today,
fight your revolution.
baby, tomorrow,
Black man,
we'll find what we're
fight your
after.
revolution.
Well, you're a black man, oh, fight your revolution. Black man, what you scared of?
Fight your revolution.
What you see?
Black man,
Fight your revolution. Black man, oh, fight your revolution.
black man,
Of what you see,
fight your revolution.
of what you scared of.
Black man,
Fight your revolution. Black man, oh, fight your revolution.
black man,
Baby, today,
fight your revolution.
baby, tomorrow, black man, will find what we're
Fight your
after.
revolution.
Black man, oh, fight your revolution. Struggle, struggle.
Enduring and resisting bondage in plantations, suffering and reacting against unequal status under the banner of civilization. Is there an end in sight? If so, what kind of end might that be? It's not just an end as a destination, but an end to injustice and oppression. Or that's what I take from Johnny Clark's rendition of the Abyssinians' classic Declaration of Rights.
Fussing and fighting achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Took us away from civilization, brought us to slave in these big plantations, busting and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Yeah. Took us away from civilization, brought us to slave in these big plantations, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way, it's worse than hell. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up.
This was the last tune in this recording, or rather, this was the last tune with sung lyrics in this recording, and it is the last time you will hear my voice too. I started this sonic essay by promising a way of thinking with music, and I tried to demonstrate that by extracting meaning from what I hear in the chosen tracks and then translating it to words. Yet there is something more important than the lyrics in music, and black or Afro-diasporic music genres like roots reggae, and that is sound. The sonic qualities, the sonic architecture of music. Rather than just hearing the lyrics, it is important that we listen to the sound. The low frequency, infrasound and sub-bass, the montage and sound effects, the mixing of snippets of voice, the momentary cutting out and the return of the bass lines. These elements of the music carry meaning too, even though it is not expressed verbally. I like to think of them as a revolution in ideas and thinking, taking intellectual life to be not just verbal, written, or oral discourse, but a form of communication, an activity that engages and comes from the senses, but also retrains our mind to think otherwise by listening to music as a way of thinking with music. In fact, I argue that music or sound without the vocals taking center stage can give us space to think with music as non-verbal discourse that carries meaning in and through its sound. All the distinct features of dub or instrumental reggae, if I can briefly yet inadequately describe it as such, are situated in the rich history and expressive cultures of the African diaspora, which are not purely aesthetic but profoundly political. They offer alternatives to the standards and established principles of European traditions of music composition. They attune us to modes of creative expression that are not made to stay indoors and be enjoyed or contemplated in silence, but as interactive, polyrhythmic, antiphonic, call and response, dialogic, communicative, interactive forms of making music, public space, culture, and politics too. The sonic and lyrical properties of black or Afro-diasporic music do not simply allow for, but indeed demand an interactive participatory mode of engagement, which hinges on active participation that transforms music into a practice of active citizenship. By making space for the political in its sound, black or Afro-diasporic music, like roots reggae, creates space for us to think with sound about our politics. The politics in the tunes we heard resides in the lyrical, sonic, ethical, and aesthetic elements. Fighting against oppression, coercion, violence, and terror, the tracks we listen to are powered and empowered by Rastafari as a political ideology against Babylon, that is, systems of exploitative rule from colonialism to modern-day policing. This is clear enough and clearly discernible in the lyrics. Yet the message of the music is also communicated in sound and space too. The sound is rhythmic, embodied, sensuous, and heady, rather than merely intellectual. It encompasses various modes of expression beyond the word, and its medium of communication, the turntable, the megawatt sound system speakers, the sound effects, also create an alternative public sphere, a different intellectual, aesthetic, cultural space, which creates a place for politics to be reimagined, reconsidered, reconstructed, felt and attuned to, as well as spoken about. This is not the final word, or even a fully fledged or exhaustively pursued argument. That was never my purpose in making this recording. All I intended was merely a provocation and an invitation to think the present moment with music and sound. So it is with sound that this recording must end, with a mix of instrumental dubs that I hope will make space for us to think, and think differently, about what police racism, state violence, and social injustice sound like, and how sound can move and march us to a place where such civic crimes can be resisted and eliminated as unwelcome noise.
spanking on the banking. Oh yes, on the banking. Oh now, say you know, you know, you know, you know, you know. A funeral, you cannot be no general. You'll end up in a funeral. Jam is at the control tower. Jam is at the control tower. Why won't you please tell me, baby, tonight, tonight, tonight.
Some man a fight to get guns up, and some man a kill fuel guns up.
showing the light to the people.